No, it's too canned, as in a canned response. It's too boilerplate.
Oh, TOO canned,
Yeah,
not TWO canned.
yeah, yeah,
I agree because and also it's like borderline the weekend update. So it's like there's a lot of things that are already called the update. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, but I think I don't know. um,
We can just cold open it.
I mean, I'm
Like
currently cold opening it.
I realize that's what you're doing. I get the bars at the bottom too when you started.
um,
The waveform, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I need to turn my fucking phone over. Yeah, it's interesting because like it sounding too canned is definitely a concern of mine. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Especially like when we're trying to differentiate ourselves from other
Yeah,
shows.
but it's like you walk this fine line when you're doing like abstract marketing because like we're like our target audience is to an extent a counterculture, but also like we you have to market it in a way that like people want to like check it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like I want people to look at this, but I also don't want to sound like a 50-year-old dude who goes to work in a suit every single day and like he's white and has like no hair and he just like spits out ideas of what he thinks young people like. I don't want it to sound like that guy wrote this.
So you don't want to be Rush Limbaugh.
Exactly. Or, you know, any given just news outlet. They all bore me and I think that's something that a lot of people agree upon at this point in time. Um, so I guess we'll figure out what to call it. But um, hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Cascadia Workers Project. This is our shorter, halfway through the week kind of situation that we haven't named yet. My name's Dane Drumhiller, here with my co host David Bushnell in separate parts of the Shadow of Mount Tahoma. Um, we're here to do a little bit of a less formal, kind of more impromptu conversation just between me and David to uh, keep up to date with each other and everybody throughout the week while we're not in between episodes.
Yeah. I'm hoping that in this space that we're going to be able to talk a little more about just like our thoughts on leftist theory, different conversations and discourses that are happening, because we don't necessarily in the main body of the show connect with that as much as I might like to, and
Yeah,
there's
for
a good
sure.
reason for that. But I'm hoping that we can talk about some of that stuff as the
Yeah,
weeks
man.
progress.
Well, it's like in our main show, we have like a very focused topic, but most of the people, like people who focus on that topic that we talk about on our regular show, also have a lot of other aligning ideals that, and we just wanted a place to put that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
we don't want to
Without
be,
trying to make the main body of the show way too broad.
yeah, because I definitely grasp that there's definitely people who I want to be behind the workers' movement in the world, but I also completely understand if they're either just don't really care about a lot of the other things that I care about, or like aren't up to like chatting about that and want to focus on what's like really important to them. Whatever. I want different people who don't share every single one of my viewpoints to listen to our main show. And if they don't come over and listen to this, that's cool because
Yeah.
this is a place for like just other ideas, man.
If the main show makes you rage, this will really make you rage.
Jesus. Yeah, if you do not like our main show, you definitely should not. If you don't like the Cascadia Workers Project podcast, you definitely shouldn't watch or listen to this.
Because yeah, this is gonna be pretty out there for you. Anyway, Dane, you been reading anything this week? Taking a look at anything out of Jacobin or any other
Well, I've been paying
sources?
attention to what happened at Starbucks. Did you hear about the
Yeah.
firings that happened at
Oh
Starbucks?
yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because we were
like
talking about that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
an entire store's like organization group, like the group of workers or partners as they call them at Starbucks that were working on organizing, I think in Kentucky, was it, uh they fired a bunch of them, like the core group of people,
Yeah,
all on like super technicality shit.
yeah,
I drove.
that's what I heard too. And everybody said, "Oh yeah, this is clearly targeting." I think I heard the NLRB is getting involved.
They are, and like so the union, the Workers United, uh
Yeah,
filed a motion with the NLRB. But I think what the general consensus on this is that is that Starbucks understands that this is going to get called out and like thrown out as bullshit, but it's more of just an intimidation tactic for now for their employees. Like, hey
yeah,
man, we
to
have no
make an
problem with
example.
firing you guys, and we're not going to catch backlash for it for months. Like, bet on that.
I mean, like legal ramifications. They're already seeing social ramifications. Actually, on that point, I want to read a tweet from Starbucks Workers United. The Carolinas are on the map. This officially brings us to 88 stores, filings across 25 states. We're halfway there.
Let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a tweet earlier today. So today's what, Tuesday? Yeah,
Yeah,
today's Tuesday. Yeah, so that was a tweet earlier today. So they are rapidly growing the number of union elections that we're seeing across the country.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and much needed.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Like, I mean, but that's the thing is like right now, like it's all about momentum, right? No matter even across different like professions and like fields of work and stuff like that. Like Starbucks, we've got the miners, we've got the railroads, a lot of major like workers movements happening right now. And
But
it's
these
like
are everything that you're mentioning, including like Starbucks, is like the newest in that we haven't really seen much coffee, like, or we haven't seen coffee be unionized yet. But like food service and the SEIU, which you're a part of, has been a union. So like everything that we're seeing here is like kind of like traditional unions, for lack of a better term. How do we make that jump from like traditional workers unions to like tech and making that jump, because
uh
that's what needs to happen. That's what's going to drive the future of unions.
as somebody who has very little like knowledge of like the tech industry, like as far as like being a worker within it, like I've never had access to that. So it's hard for me to like say what that's going to look like from an internal office standpoint and like how because like you think about it, like with a storefront or whatever, it's very easy to go in there, slide some information, for a union rep to come in. But like at a legitimate, at any kind of legitimate tech firm, uh there's like security at the front door, there's all this stuff, and like people are working on really tight schedules where it's going to be hard to like get people together to talk about forming a union.
Do you think
So
that's intentional?
oh, without, I mean, I think anything that makes it harder for employees to communicate and like organize together like that, any kind of barrier there is intentional. I think we're so far into building this capitalist society that there's definitely there's like blueprints for how you set up a company so your workers can't organize.
Yeah, in the industry we call those best practices.
For real, for
Yeah.
real.
And it's basically, these aren't real policies. These are the best practices to
Yeah.
ensure that
Best
your
practices.
workforce
Gross.
is happy. I get union, like I get like emails from people all the time at my work, like being like, hey, come check out this conference, or check out, culture is the number one issue for employees and all this. And it's like clearly like 3 or 4 layers down, you're actually just union busting.
Yeah.
Like, so like
Yeah.
and some of these are like, don't get me wrong, like having a good corporate culture is important to retention, and I don't want to like discount that. um but the reality is that there's a lot of like I get emails like talking about how the carefully manufactured executive pay is in jeopardy. Like that's an actual email that I got within the last within the last like 4 weeks.
Yikers, my man.
Yeah,
Yikers.
like so it's like stuff like that where I'm like, I see what you're saying, and also go
It's
fuck yourself.
crazy. It's crazy when, like, after you've really started to educate yourself on what union busting looks like, what shitty capitalism looks like, just like once you've identified what about this disgusts you and like who those people are that are doing it, like when you get faced by it, like just up front, just like, hey, let's go abuse some people, or hey, in order to keep the position and the money you have, you need to abuse some people, or hey, do you want a leg up in this world? Go abuse some people. Like when you see it face to face and you like, no matter what coding it's in, you hear whatever that person says and you decipher that code. It's shocking. It's
Yeah,
like it like the first like when you first witness that after you've like done a lot of work on figuring out what this all is, like it is surprising to see
it's
that.
jarring. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I got approached, like when that dude approached me and told me I should like, he was like, I help people invest in like becoming a landlord to like own like property and then rent it out, but you never see the property, you never do any of this. I was just like, oh no, that's so gross.
Yeah,
Oh,
property manager. Yeah.
it was weird because it's like just investing in insuring people's poverty. It's like, hey man, do you want to make a small investment that'll go across several properties and create passive income for you? And I'm like, you mean take every cent some poor families got and leave them with nothing so that all of us can get a cut? That's
Wait, what is it
gross.
like? Is it wait? So like partial buy-in into
It's
a
investor landlordship, is what this man came at me with.
fucking what?
Yeah. So it's like a bunch of small goon motherfuckers invest in properties together and landlord like and then like this shell company manages the properties for a nominal fee. And then so this like,
I'm genuinely horrified.
yeah, like
Like,
every cent a family has is just being split up between scumbags as passive income. That's
holy cow. Oh my god, that is disgusting.
yeah, it's really gross.
Oh, and like just with how society is set up, people are going to see that as like a totally awesome opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy was all in. And I don't
It's
genuinely
like
think,
that's the kind of stuff that's going to cause '08 to happen again.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
Like
no,
that's an '08 level of like just unself-aware, I don't know. Like
yeah, and what really sucked about it is like listening to this guy talk about it, I don't think he understood like how bad it was by any means. Like,
economics.
yeah, like, well, he was a young Hispanic dude. He was first generation American probably. Like, and he was like just looking for a way to like get a leg up, like be one of the guys that you read about, like be the next guy who's like a housing mogul. It's just people right now, society, because we're in like this hyper capitalism, we educate people only on the gain that they can receive and not like how it's being gained. We're
Yeah.
educating people
Well,
on basically middle management and up because we're relying on the fact that nobody like wants to exist in like the like firsthand labor. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah,
Everyone
absolutely.
wants
Well,
wants that second party, third party, like adjacent to the labor.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the and you're right. That is the reality that we're living in, especially in the like you look at the jobs that get sent overseas, right? Like whether it was Bush, Clinton, Trump, Obama, Biden, all of them promised to bring them back, yet we're still bleeding jobs, and that's because here in the
Every day a place shuts down here and opens up somewhere in another country for
yeah,
cheaper
well,
labor.
yeah, and yeah, and the reason why why none of them can do anything about it, I mean, part of the reason is that we don't have the labor force here, and the reality is it is cheaper to take that business elsewhere, and CEOs don't care. Like when you're beholden to your shareholders, you have a legal obligation to maximize those profits. It's mine. It's on my
Oh,
end.
okay. I couldn't tell if it was my dogs. I should have known that whine. It's definitely Moo Moo.
Yeah, that's Moo. She'd
She's be
she'd really show Pam what for.
Yeah. Moo Moo would actually murder the fuck out of Pam, especially if Pam came around at night trying to get up in her nest.
Yeah, for real. And Moo would just be like another inanimate object, another
Yeah,
inanimate
Moo
object.
Moo would just be like, "Listen, I'm not long for this world, and I don't mind knocking off a year or, so, or a couple months just by kicking your ass."
She's so ornery.
Moo Moo knows what she's about. I respect the shit out of Moo Moo. She said, "You know what? I like this shit, and this shit. And if it snows outside, you better let me out this bitch. That's it. That's all I want. I want my toys. I want the snow, and I want to scream at things every now and then. That's just how it is." Moo Moo
For
gets it.
for for our listeners, Moo is a Siberian Husky, so she is very very vocal. Yeah, man. But yeah, that's why I do remember actually now you telling me that story about that guy approaching you. Yeah, it's just everybody's like, I mean, that's like the issue with hustle culture, right? Is like when
Yeah,
you
God, it's so gross.
like it well, and the idea is it incorporates a certain amount of truth. Like it's true when you own your own means of production,
Yeah.
and a lot of folks do own their own means of production. That's why we have so many small businesses in the United States, and that is a means of owning your own means of production.
Hmm.
But as soon as you start getting a little bit of growth, you start reproducing the oppression that you see in other structures because you're just following these societal best practices instead of critically examining what kind of extraction you're pulling from your worker, right? Because at the end of
Hmm.
the day, if I make a snowboard and I sell it for $100, that's my labor coming from, all coming back to me. If I hire Dane to sell snowboards for that to make snowboards and I'm just selling snowboards, Dane's doing all the work, but we're splitting the profit, or however I
Listen,
decide, because it's my company.
listen. I will, in a devil's advocate move, make the statement that the sale of the item is labor, but like the equivalency of labor may or may not be there.
Yeah, well, the I mean
As
the
somebody who
snowboard.
sold vacuums door to door and fell into that world, it ain't easy being cheesy, okay?
I'm not saying that the sales isn't labor. What I'm saying is that
Indeed.
I'm extracting the the profit, the
Especially if you hire me to make snowboards for you at
yeah,
$15 an hour
yeah,
and
exactly. I'm
you're pocketing
extracting
the rest. Yeah.
I'm extracting the all that surplus from you,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is the fundamental understanding that we bring from Marxism.
There's a business owner on TikTok that I love to see videos from, and she has like similarly to what you have. I don't what's the exact word for it where like everybody has an ownership stake in a
Yeah, to
company.
worker co-op. Yeah, I know who you're
Yeah,
talking
worker
about.
co-op, and it's so funny to watch her channel, especially when she does Q&As, because people do not understand like the idea of, yeah, my business doesn't really turn a traditional profit. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's not my values aren't increasing like at the same rate that you would expect them to on your average capitalist business like
Because we're not
agenda.
trying to maximize profits.
Exactly. So it's like we all make the same amount of money and then whatever is extra at the end of the year she bonuses out and it's just like that's how it is. We all make money at the same rate. It's not going into the the business's value, it's going into the pockets of all the people that work there equally.
The way that, yeah, I mean, I personally, and I know who you're talking about. I've seen their work, and I agree with a lot of it. I think there are other ways to structure it as well,
Oh, for
depending on
sure.
the size and scale of your company. I really like how a lot of fishing vessels do it in all
Yeah.
reality. Is that the fishermen each get a share of the
Yeah.
total, um, and so each person gets like one share. The greenhorns get half a share, and the boat gets like the captain gets like two shares, and the boat gets like two shares.
Yeah. I mean, granted though, maritime like private maritime businesses have had a lot of time to figure out exactly how that is going to work, and they started off on a really good foot as far as like how to structure and organize that kind of a thing. So,
Yeah, because back in the day, if you didn't like the captain, you just threw him off the boat.
yeah, well, it's basically like if you watch a pirate movie or a pirate show or anything like that, it's the same rules apply uh, during big hull and sailboat and sail ships as they do now on like a fishing vessel. It's shares, it's the amount of time and investment and da 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 da, and it's split in a way that is equitable to everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't mean that it's split in a way that's necessarily equal, like the
Yeah,
person that you've
perfectly
mentioned.
even as far as your numbers go, but it's
But the key aspect here, I think, is that the workers have a certain amount of say in that and
absolutely,
in
yeah.
what they do.
Yeah, and that circles back to why, all the way down to why unions are important and why we need to re-energize and re-strengthen US unions. It's just because if when the workers do not have a means of proper representation, they will always be abused and exploited. It is just like there's no two ways about it. If you do not have a way to speak up and be heard, you will be exploited.
I mean, yeah, it requires like reorganization of fundamentally how we think about business and what the purpose of business is. Is the purpose of business to produce? Is it to generate a profit? Is like what is the purpose of business? Like
Yeah.
I can go and choose from 16 different cereals. Do I need to choose from 16 cereals? If I could choose from like 3 or 4 cereals and then be able to offer affordable housing, would I like just because you can have unlimited choice on something doesn't mean that you need unlimited choices.
Absolutely. And also like yes, we all may have the ultimate option of 15 or 20 different cereals, but nobody like universally likes all the cereals and has to like scratch their chin every day and say which cereal do I want. You know which four cereals you like. And every now
Exactly.
and whatever you're buying is one of those four cereals. So,
And you want to know what? It's usually like, let's be real here. Your friends are also buying one of those 4 cereals. Like
yeah, exactly.
you got like you got like what like Cocoa Puffs. Okay, we won't get into this because this could actually turn heated. This could get
Fruity
real heated.
Pebbles.
Yeah.
If Fruity
So
Pebbles ain't
let's
on the list, I'm starting a riot.
see, and then there's that too. Okay, Dane, did you read about the Dave Chappelle thing that I sent you?
I haven't read the actual article. I saw the video though. I saw the video of him like at the town hall, like dressing down the town hall meeting, and I got to watch that in full. So it made a little more sense. But why don't you give me the rundown on what's going on there?
Oh, I mean basically all that I know is that Dave Chappelle is like having some issue with the city that he's trying to create a comedy club and some comedy infrastructure in, and yeah, and he's basically the city wanted to introduce a new proposal that included like rezoning areas for like duplex and fourplexes, which is a story that we talked about on the main show a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago, but for here in Seattle. And so it seemed like Dave was pushing back against that, but it's for me it's really unclear as to whether he's trying to do it for personal gain and like and getting his business all up and going, and or whether it's an actual like issue of the zoning being messed up. So
Yeah.
kind of similar to how Bruce Harrell was his position was on the main show.
Yeah, absolutely. Like his NIMBY status isn't guaranteed, but it's not there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it could be him being an asshole about like his club and like wanting this, that, and the other thing, and not wanting to build an unsupported neighborhood around his shit and stuff like that. Or it could be he legitimately looked into it and realized that it's not going to be good for anybody, and
Mm,
like has actually thought
yeah.
it out.
And to be clear, I don't know too much about either the policy or Chappelle's stake in this. Is just
Same,
really
yeah.
interesting to notice some of those similarities.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. It was cool
yeah,
to like tie the strings from like our city to that and like see the similarities and what's going on there.
because again, like throwing up a bunch of duplexes in West Seattle is not going to solve the affordable housing crisis. It's
No.
not.
It's going to be some
It's
really
going
expensive duplexes.
it's going to there's going to be a lot of new really expensive duplexes, and we're going to have more people here.
Yeah.
Microsoft and Amazon will be like, "Hey, we can hire more people here now." But yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah. So we need like mixed housing that's like has businesses on the ground floor that people can work at, and those businesses need to actually hire people that like from the community.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw like a um it's like literally a flash at this point in my mind, but I guess this is the kind of place where I'm going to discuss this with you. I saw an architectural plan for a new way of building neighborhoods, and it was that similar, like businesses around the bottom, around the ground floor, and then the housing above the businesses, and like there was schools involved, and there was just like there was all this stuff, and it was in order to build like a community that lives where it works and works where it lives, so that there's responsibility and things like that.
so like New York in the 1930s, 1920s.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The issue with New York is what happened is now the place anywhere that's like cool to be around as far as a neighborhood goes, the housing above those that store level property is still so expensive.
Yeah, because they stopped doing that. Imagine if New
Yeah,
York had kept and instead of like sprawling and suburbanizing,
yeah,
how much more packed it could theoretically be, but like the kind of like historic restaurants that have been missed out and that could have been created in a mix in a much if they had kept expanding in the way that they were, the
yeah.
type of like
And
historic businesses and
I know these examples are like dystopian, but we live in a dystopia, so it's like whatever. But like, do you remember the opening scene in Cyberpunk, like where you're at his apartment and then you go down, and it's like a semicircle or like a horseshoe shaped skyscraper, and then
yeah.
in the bottom there's like a massive pavilion of like shops and food and all this stuff.
Yeah, well, and there's shops on every level too.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was I thought that was really cool, and I like the dystopian nature of some of the dystopian worlds like kind of lost its luster for me, and now I just like think it looks dope and would be cool to live in.
Well, ultimately, a we live in a cyberpunk dystopia to begin with. Um,
Currently.
yeah, currently, and b the reality of like I mean, I thought that cyberpunk was a really effective critique on like corporate cronyism and a
Mhm.
realistic look at where we're going to be in 50 years.
I totally agree. Yeah. And
So
it
like
Go
the
ahead.
idea that cities are going to keep growing, like like these mixed in, I mean, you see now these mixed income things are starting to become more of a conversation, and it's not like we like even if we implement this, that doesn't mean we topple the capitalist machine. So it's very
Mhm.
possible that that is just a peek into our future.
Yeah, definitely. And
So
not far away by any means
no,
either.
no. I mean, there are. I saw again going back to like me seeing random super corpo, um, just being exposed to a lot of corpo propaganda. Um, I like there's this. There's this one article that I saw on LinkedIn that was an article basically saying that there's more public trust of CEOs than local officers, like local government officials.
Yeah.
And the implication was that we should begin surrendering local government things to CEOs and C-suite officers. Like that was heavily implied.
No.
Like the corpo world is absolutely like nuts. Like it's like walking into a party where you weren't expecting everybody. It's like it's like walking into youth group and everybody's on crack.
Ooh.
That's what it's like. Like there's just like this veneer of like where this, that, and the other thing, and you walk in and it's like, oh, you, ooh, it's really bad.
Yeah, dude. It's
It's
it's funny how often you hear people reference dystopias as if we're not in one, honestly. Like the number of people that reference like Orwell or anything like that is just like, that's a now, right? Like you recognize that like that's right now, right?
like, I mean, yeah, like look at the power that corporations like Facebook have, like Amazon has, like, I mean,
Fuck it.
any
Look at
number.
I mean, just look at okay, there's a billionaire space race happening right now. Our world is on fire, and there is a race to see which billionaire can successfully get to space first.
In their penis rocket.
Yeah. And our like space travel is almost like as a nation, our space travel is corporatizing. Like it's privatizing, it's corporatizing. Like doesn't how much of like NASA's equipment do you think is supplied by SpaceX at this point?
Is supplied by SpaceX? I have no idea.
I'd imagine NASA buys a decent amount of shit from SpaceX at this point.
And vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. Um, but like, I would not be shocked if in the next 10 years, NASA was just like, okay, it's NASA X SpaceX now. We're doing a crossover event, and like I would not be shocked if like
SpaceX just acquires NASA.
yeah, exactly. Something ridiculous like that. But like it's not that ridiculous cuz it's about to happen. Like space travel I'm fairly sure will become completely privatized. At least in
Oh
America.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like just the same way a company builds the missiles we shoot at people, a company's going to end up building the rockets or the rockets that
The
we fly
rockets
to.
we shoot at aliens.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think we'll still buy from the same like military suppliers for like munitions, but I think the rockets that we go up in are going to be SpaceX.
Oh yeah, SpaceX. SpaceX. Uh, SpaceX brought to you. Wait, SpaceX with defense powered by Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be like you are in the next 10 years whatever goofball president we have is going to come out and be like, I'm happy to say that with NASA and SpaceX joining forces, we will now be now all Space Force because Space Force is still a thing.
Yeah,
Like that can't be undone. We just have a Space Force and they don't do dick.
it's
But
kind
it's
of
going to be like
fantastic. Low key, kind of fantastic.
it's going to be now that NASA has partnered with SpaceX, we now bring you like all Space Force soldiers will be flying in the SpaceX Jupiter 19 armed with Lockheed Martin, the finest missiles Lockheed Martin has to offer. And we're going to go shoot at anything that moves up there in space.
Especially if it looks like it has oil.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think
Yeah,
that.
man.
Do you? Well, here, let me ask you this final question, and then we'll wrap this all up.
Sounds
Do you
good.
think that we're actually like there's actually going to be a U.S. Russia or a proxy war, Ukraine Russia proxy
Mm,
war?
I do.
You do.
Hmm. I
Okay, why
do,
is
but I
that?
think, but like, it's been a while since we've had a proxy war, so I think people forgot that they like happen. And
We
the fact of
stopped.
the matter,
We just got out of Afghanistan like a year ago.
okay,
Like
but
not
that was
even.
like, okay, but when when like the U.S. has done a really good job of making us not believe that that was a proxy war, and it was like a solid percentage of the American population still believes that we went into the Middle East for WMDs. Like like you grasp it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
understand that somewhere like Vietnam was a proxy war. You know what I mean? Or I like the Iran Contra and the Mujahideen. Like they
yeah.
understand that that was a proxy war, but they don't understand that like the entirety of the Middle East and our doing goings on in there was a proxy war. But like, so you look at a place like Vietnam is a legitimate like what we're about to see. Basically, it's the US and Western powers and Russia and Eastern powers vying for control of a I don't really want to be, I'm not even supposed to be here today kind of country. You know what I mean? It just so happens that this one is a lot closer to Russia. So it kind of feels like we basically have troops on the Russian border right now, which is sketchy as fuck. But I think just like many other proxy wars that we've fought, like the world powers have gotten very good at fighting wars that don't actually affect them and like in any major way. Like it won't touch Russia and it won't touch the US or like most of Western Europe. This will be a war that is pretty much probably exclusively fought in like
The
in
Baltic region.
yeah, the Baltic region, like Crimea and the Ukraine, and those countries are going to see the worst of it, just like they've seen the worst of a lot of shit that's gone down in the world. Like, and it sucks that like these like we can't uh like take responsibility as the nation's superpowers for absolutely demolishing country after country after country, fighting wars within them that they have really not a whole lot to do with.
Yeah, and this is just another skirmish and an ongoing in the Cold War between the
Yeah,
Western and Eastern powers is really what it's shaping
like
up
it's
to
been a
be.
while since since like Russia and the US kind of got into like a pretty much toe-to-toe mix.
Yeah. I actually disagree with you though. I don't think there's going to be an actual proxy war there because of its proximity to Russia.
Well, we'll see
Things
tomorrow.
things spill over the border, things get out of hand. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be a war. However, I do think that saber rattling is really really good for defense stocks. And scary
Yeah,
saber rattling like this, I mean,
bro.
I don't even
Have
have to
you?
look up Lockheed Martin or any
Yeah,
of.
dude. There's a website you can go to see who's buying what, and you can look up like lawmakers every single, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they're on, it doesn't matter what they talk about it, I don't give a fuck. AOC just bought Lockheed. Ugh! Like I'm telling you,
Look man, I've been fighting the urge to open up Robinhood and put some money
dude,
on Lockheed, okay?
I mean if the
Like,
world's gonna burn I might as well have a little money to sit on while it happens.
and see that is the problem.
Exactly. But like I don't think it will be a war, but I definitely think there will be some uh some shoosting.
Some shooty shooty bang bang.
Yeah. But you're not wrong about saber rattling makes money. And so
Yeah. That's
um
like because ultimately I don't think that the elite are going to benefit from a war with Russia. I think they
no.
benefit from a war with or from wars in the Middle East, but having a war that close to Western Europe, like the US elite are not going to benefit from that. Only specific like defense contractors and defense companies would benefit from that. So in my mind, the most beneficial thing for that class of people in the United States is the saber rattling without any teeth.
Yeah, and are we really going to let the Cheneys make more money off of another war?
Absolutely, we are. That's the American way.
True. All money funnels into the Cheneys.
Yeah. Okay.
Did
Well,
real quick, did you ever watch Vice, the movie
I
Vice?
yes, I watched like 2/3 of it, got distracted, and then like haven't gone back to finish it.
I fucking
But
loved that movie. But
no,
anyways,
it's excellent. It is excellent.
that's our piece of advice for this episode. At the end of every episode, we're going to give you, at the end of every one of these midweek episodes, we're going to give you a piece of advice. And this week's is go watch Vice. It's fucking awesome.
It is.
All
It is
right.
excellent.
My name's Dane Drumhiller. This is David Bushnell. We want to thank you guys for tuning in for this. I think we're going to put this one on YouTube, and then the rest of these are going to be Patreon exclusives.
And
So, what?
and we're going to be doing a release of a interview here pretty soon.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, wonderful. Thank you. Like I said, thank you guys for coming out and enjoying this with us. If you like this, hit the like button on YouTube and go check out our Patreon. All our links will be displayed right after this. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.